Welcome everyone to BCRC and SPVM Symposium addressing combating hate crime in Quebec. The Black Community Resource Center and the Service de Police de la Ville de Montréal host the symposium to provide a general overview of the current responses to hate crimes by law enforcement authorities in the province. It also aims to increase your awareness on how to fight, gauge, and prevent bias-motivated offenses. This event is being held as part of the BCRC's In the Know 2 Legal Project. The In the Know 2 project is about increasing legal literacy among English-speaking Black and visible minorities youth, and through the symposium, In the Know 2 team and the Incidents and Hate Crimes Unit at SPVM aim to address and strengthen your knowledge and skills in law enforcement and victim assistance. My name is Farah Nantel. I'm a lawyer and I'm part of the In the Know 2 project's legal advisory team. My main focus is on criminal and penal law, and I plead before all legal forums of criminal jurisdictions and for all court districts in the province. I am going to moderate today's symposium, but before we start, let me share the following announcements with you. This event was made possible through the financial support of the Department of Canadian Heritage, Anti-Racism Action Program, and Secretariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise. Please note that you've entered the webinar muted and can only be unmuted by the host. During the webinar, please write all questions for the panelists in the Q&A box located in your icon bar at the bottom of the screen, and all comments in the chat box. The webinar will be recorded and will be available for viewing on the YouTube pages of BCRC. Pour l'interprétation simultanée en français, cliquez sur l'icône d'interprétation dans la barre d'icônes dans le bas de vos écrans et vous pourrez choisir la langue. For closed captioning in English, please click on the live transcript icon in the icon bar at the bottom of your Zoom screens. Now, I'd like to introduce our presenter for today, Police Consultant Ashlee-Lynn Mailloux of the Incidents and Hate Crimes Unit, the MICH. She's going to share with us the difference between an incident and a hate crime and how to report these situations as a victim or as a witness. So I now turn the floor over to Ashlee-Lynn Mailloux, but again, don't hesitate to write down any question and comments you may have, and Agent Mailloux will answer at the end of the presentation.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being present at today's presentation. And thank you very much for the beautiful introduction to Farah. To present myself, my name is Ashlee-Lynn Mailloux. I'm a consulting officer with the Module des Incidents et Crimes Mineurs, the Incident and Hate Crime Unit with the Montreal Police. I have been a police officer with the Montreal Police for the past 13 years, began downtown as a patrol officer and then moved to the region of Verdun to finish with my patrolling in Station 26, which is situated in Côte-des-Neiges. And I am now a consulting officer with the Module des Incidents et Crimes Mineurs.
Ashlee, I think you need to share your screen for the PowerPoint. There we go. Good.
Perfect. So welcome to today's presentation with Incident in the Hate Crimes Unit. We are part of the Department of Division de la Prévention de la Sécurité Urbaine de Montréal. Incident and Hate Crimes Unit. Why was our unit created? It was created in 2015 and began treating case files in 2016. Why? To centralize the information in regards to incident and hate crimes for the island of Montreal, to obtain a global analysis and to detect the current trends. The centralization of this information allows our team members to target our interventions and to quickly restore the sentiment of security. Our unit can then provide awareness to the person or the communities affected. The MISH team is composed of a lieutenant detective, which is known as a supervisor, 2 sergeant detectives, which is also known as investigators, and 2 consulting officers, which is myself. Our specific roles. Our investigators are specialized exclusively in treating hate crimes and incident case files, which leads our judicial system to rule on the offenses that were previously scarcely applied, and to underline to the Crown the importance of these cases in regards to the multicultural population of Montreal. Our consultants are specialized and are mandated in establishing partnerships with the different communities present on the island of Montreal. What is a hate incident? It is a non-criminal act which may affect the sentiment of security of a person or an identifiable group of people who, given the context, may be perceived because of race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, a physical or mental disability, sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. Based on the perception of the victim, plaintiff, or the witness, the analysis of the dossier will determine the motivation. These types of incidents need to be reported, and Montreal is one of the first police forces that have decided that the incidents also need to be analyzed. What is an example of a hate incident? A person is insulted because they're visibly of a different ethnicity or religion. Why is it important to denounce a hate incident? The main reason is prevention. It allows our unit to detect new phenomena and their evolution in regards to the island of Montreal. This enables our unit to target any evolving issues and to sensitize awareness among the potential victims and/or communities. When we are able to identify a suspect because of a denunciation, he or she is contacted and awareness is raised concerning the impact of their actions in order to prevent the behavior from reoccurring or becoming a hate crime. Hate incidents can be used to establish the character of a suspect when investigating hate crimes and may be used as circumstantial support in a case file. Hate crimes and the Criminal Code of Canada. What is a hate crime? It is a criminal offense which is motivated or suspected to be motivated by the hatred of race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression. The plaintiff's, victims, and/or witnesses' perception of the event is of great importance. When a denunciation is made, the investigation will then determine the motivation. What is an example of a hate crime? Being physically attacked because of the color of the person's skin. Why should a hate crime or hate incident be reported? Because the SPVM prioritizes the fight against hate crimes and hate incidents regardless of the seriousness of the act. It is essential for the SPVM and our unit to make the population aware of this phenomenon, to encourage vigilance. It is favorable that the denunciation be made as soon as possible for the following reasons. In order to facilitate the identification of a suspect, which is very important to a case file, to prevent the continuation or the repetition of an event, to secure and preserve any evidence, and also for camera retention. The SPVM in the island of Montreal is privileged with many accesses to cameras. There's cameras in our metro stations. There's cameras in our train stations. Many dépanneurs or shopping centers have cameras. There's lots of cameras also on specific roads in Montreal to be able to surveil the automobiles that are present on the street. The only inconvenience to camera retention is there's only a certain period of retention between 48 to 72 hours. So there is one of the reasons where it's very important to denounce right away. We often get the question, how can a witness help? Ask the victim, do you need help? Are you okay? Dial 911 for them and say it out loud. Give a physical description of the suspect from head to toe, the color of their hair, the color of their skin, the color of their eyes, what they're wearing. Where are you situated? Give an address or an intersection, a name of a street. Describe what's happening in detail. Is an ambulance needed? Taking pictures and filming from a distance is always good. It can be used as evidence. There are 4 main articles for hate crimes in the criminal code. Article 318 is advocating genocide, where we find the definition of an identifiable group. 319.1, public incitement of hatred. 319.2, willful promotion of hatred. And Article 434.1, which is mischief relating to religious property. Aggravating circumstances is a sentencing principle. Article 718.2 of the Criminal Code states, a court that imposes a sentence shall also take into consideration the following principles. A sentence should be increased or reduced to account for any relevating, aggravating, or mitigating circumstances relating to the offense or the offender, and without limiting the generality of the foregoing. Evidence that the offense was motivated by bias, prejudice, or hate based on race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation or gender identity or expression, or any other similar factor. Oh my God, what does all of this mean? What it means is most infractions of the criminal code can have a sentencing principle applied. The sentencing principle means that the sentence, that means the amount of time that the accused will receive, will increase or be reduced in regards to whether or not the offense was motivated by hate in regards to their race, national or ethnic origin, the color, their religion, sex, and age. So we can always apply a sentencing principle saying that the crime was motivated by hate. What are the possible impacts concerning hate crimes and hate incidents? For the victims, we often see humiliation. There may be a negative impact on self-esteem. We often hear the reaction, why did or didn't I react? because there are three possible reactions for every human being. It's either the flight reaction, the fight reaction, freeze, a little explanation. When in a situation of stress, there is a possibility that we engage with the other person because it's our instinct. Either we can also flight from the situation, which means run away, or we can freeze and ask ourselves, why didn't I do anything? It's stronger than you. There's a fear of being recognized because the victim is part of an identifiable group, and that the event will repeat itself because this factor cannot be changed. And because of this, we also find people in isolation. They no longer want to leave their homes. They want to stay home. They want to stay in their communities where they feel safe. For the community, the sentiment of security is affected. The community as a whole is affected because we often live in boroughs. And in these boroughs, who do we turn to when we've been a victim of threats or an assault? We turn to fellow community people. So these events create a negative impact on our multicultural society. In this case, every victim and plaintiff of a hate crime and a hate incident is contacted by our unit for a follow-up to offer the appropriate resources. When involved in a criminal offense, CAVAC, le Centre d'aide de victimes d'actes criminels, is offered to the victim. As well, if we know the identity of the suspect in a hate incident, you can also be referred to the Commission des droits de la personne, which is the Human Rights Commission. How to denounce a hate crime. Hate crimes directed towards a person. If your life or a life of another person is in danger, immediately call 911. If the suspect is present, immediately dial 911. Details are so important. Where you are situated, the description of the suspect from head to toe, your surroundings, a street or an address is very important. Hate crimes directed towards property. 911 can be called, but please remember, calls are treated by priority. A person where their life is in danger will be answered by the police before a crime which is directed towards property. A report can be made in person at your local neighborhood police station. If there's no evidence to whom committed the crime, video surveillance, or a witness, the report can be made online. And there is always the option to anonymously report with Infocrim. How to denounce a hate incident. You may denounce in person at your local neighborhood police station, online at spvm.qc.ca, or anonymously as well with Infocrim. We often get the question, can a denunciation be made in another language? And we are so proud to say, yes. We have several police officers on our force of approximately 4,000 to 5,000 police officers that don't only speak English and French. We have officers that speak Cantonese. We have officers that speak Creole. We have officers that speak Vietnamese, Spanish. So the way it works with the SPVM is every person is categorized with a specific language, and that information is pushed to 911. 911 can then find a police officer that speaks the language in which the denunciation can be made. Declarations can also be written in another language. If we don't have a police officer on the force that can translate that declaration, then an exterior firm can be used. And no worries, if there's no interpreter on site, there's always a solution. We'll take your contact information, we'll set up an appointment, and we'll find an interpreter to be able to speak with you in a short delay of time. We are proud to announce that SPVM.qc.ca has a page for hate crimes and hate incidents. So if you're ever questioning whether it's a hate crime or hate incident, can't really remember what I had to say because there was a lot of information in my presentation, you can always go to our webpage. The definitions of a hate crime and a hate incident are present. And there is also the icon to be able to report a hate crime or a hate incident online, but it's more hate incidents than crimes. In any case that you wish to report a hate incident online, this is what the online reporting page will look like. There will be several questions that you will have to answer by ticking off yes or no, and then you will be redirected to another page where you can fill out an online report. We're very proud to announce that we have just updated our pamphlet, and it is available online as a reference as well. And we're proud to say that we have been able to translate the document in French, Arabic, Korean, Mandarin, Japanese, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. And we are also looking forward to translating it in other languages. There's always the question of statistics as well. What influences the statistics of hate crimes and hate incidents? We often see global events in the media affects hate crimes and hate incidents directly. If I can give you a few examples, when it was COVID, the Asian community was very much affected, and we saw a rise in hate crimes and hate incidents. When we see announcements for Black Lives Matters, we also see that there's more victims in regards to hate crimes and hate incidents. As well, lately there was conflict between Palestine and Israel. Then we saw an augmentation towards the Jewish community and towards the Arab community. There was more victims for hate crimes and hate incidents. Another thing that influenced statistics is our encouragement to denounce by the SPVM and to create awareness. We also, every year and every 6 months, go over analysis of our statistics. And after the analysis of the statistics are made, we are able to foresee which communities are being targeted. So then prevention and vigilance then becomes a key element in encouraging denunciations to reprimand the accused. So today's event would be a key example of saying that we're talking to many people today, and awareness is created, and people will be more in tune to denounce an event. Unfortunately, between 2018 and 2020, we have been able to now analyze that there's still a very dark figure in denunciations for hate crimes and hate incidents. Often why we see this influence is because there's a fear of police authority, maybe because of a previous experience. The experience didn't go smoothly, so now there's a fear towards the police officer. The SPVM police officer can also be compared to the police from his or her country of origin. In his or her country of origin, was it taboo to advise the police of a situation like this? Or was there corruption? Was there fear of the police beforehand? The other option that we see is It was a minor event. It's not important. I don't need to report. I don't want to bother the police. It's just something small. We can't forget that we are being paid to be bothered. We have chose to be police officers to be bothered, to be able to help our population. And in that same flow, the SPVM has a community policing approach. And the community policing approach is the citizens of Montreal, you are our eyes and ears. We are only 4,000 police officers for a much larger number of citizens for the city of Montreal. So the more information that is transmitted to us through your eyes, then we're able to know where we need to concentrate our analysis, where we need to concentrate vigilance and prevention. The other questions that we often see with statistics is, what are the offenses in the criminal code which are usually reported? And that's minor assault, uttering threats, public incitement of hatred, aggravated assault, and mischief, which is usually graffiti less than 5,000. So la division de la prévention de la sécurité urbaine, the Hate Incident and Hate Crimes Unit, wishes to say thank you for being part of today's presentation. If you wish to contact us, you can always write an email to incidentcrimeainer@spvm.qc.ca or call us by phone, which is myself, Ashlee-Lynn Mailloux, or Mr. Mark Belrose, which is happily on vacation at the moment, at 514-280-3262. It will be a pleasure to be able to guide you in the right direction in how to denounce whether or not it was a hate crime, and to offer the resources to the victims that were involved in the event. So I'll hand over the rest of the presentation to Farah for the question and answer period.
Thank you so much for this great presentation. We have a few comments and some questions. We have a comment about the negative impact on self-esteem when it comes to hate against the Asian community, and that the person really hopes that this is being addressed by the SPVM, which I have no doubt that it is. And this is more in a form of a comment, not really a question. We have another question that the person is asking: how has this novel unit within the SPVM actually impacted rates of hate crimes in Montreal? And we were talking about statistics a bit earlier. Have you been able to see a decrease of the hate crimes?
Well, unfortunately, we haven't seen a decrease, because that's not what we want to see. We want to see an increase so that we can actually help. We're not looking to unfortunately, I don't think the phenomenon is going to change, especially with everything that's in the news at the moment, which is in the media. But we do want people to denounce so that we can accuse, so that we can reprimand the person, and to be able to show to the courts that this is a phenomenon that has to be reprimanded. So we have seen in the last couple of years an augmentation in hate crimes and hate incidents, but we've worked very hard to be able to announce to people that it's important for prevention and vigilance.
Absolutely. And another person is asking, how can the SPVM reduce the fear of past experiences to encourage more denunciations?
In regards to the experiences for past situations in regards to hate crimes and hate incidents, we can't forget that we're a police force. Our job is to be able to find the person to accuse, to then send them off to prosecution, and then the Crown will take the case. But we also work hand in hand with community resources, whether it's in the community itself, whether it's avec, which is a help center for victims of hate crimes or any crime at that matter. There's also evac, which is indemnification, sorry, I have trouble with the word, for victims of crimes as well. And we also have a partnership with le Centre de Prévention Menant à la Violence, and they are specialized in helping with victims of hate crimes and hate incidents. So it's something that's followed up with the CLSC on a voluntary basis. If you're wishing to be able to receive those resources, well, then we offer your names, or we give you a phone number in which you can call. You just give the event report number, and then they'll be able to go access the information through our information database.
Thank you very much for your answer. I think it answers the question. Also, another person is asking, and I'm not sure you will be able to answer this, it's very specific, but do you know since 2016 how many times the SPVM has reported the statistics have been issued publicly? How many times reports and statistics have been issued publicly?
I can't answer for 2016 because I've only been with MISH since 2019. I know the information that comes out in the newspapers is often information that comes directly from our unit. So if you see newspaper articles and there are statistics in those newspaper articles, they're coming from us or they're coming from Stats Canada.
Okay. And another person is asking if SPVM officers have immunity from being charged with hate crimes.
Do they have immunity with being charged with hate crimes? I can't say 100% yes or no, but we do have deontology. I don't know how you say it in English, where events regarding a police officer can be denounced to deontology. I don't know, Farah, if you know what deontology policière is in English.
Code of ethics.
I will.
Of ethics.
Board of Ethics, there we go.
Ethics, yeah.
You can report an event to the Board of Ethics for the Montreal Police.
Okay. Again, I believe it's the same person that is asking if the police themselves are investigated by your unit, or if they have been the cause of hate. So basically, I think the question is if there's a police officer that's being investigated for a hate crime, will they be investigated by your unit?
Unfortunately, no. They will not be investigated by our unit because it's a conflict of interest.
And do you believe that how do you believe we can best reduce hate crimes and incidents on a community basis?
On a community basis, I believe in the situation where we are now is education. We need to educate everyone in regards to these events, and to be able to say that if you are a victim of a crime and a suspect or an accused is identified, then an accusation will be made. We have to remember that accusations are made on a voluntary basis. The plaintiff has to agree that he wants to press charges against that individual. So the main thing is education, and education will lead to prevention, and prevention will lead to vigilance.
Thank you very much. Also, is there a way that the reports can be filed by the citizens to increase the chances that your unit take action in regarding the incident that is being reported?
Well, the more denunciations that are made in our unit, seeing that we're a very small unit, we're only 4 officers or 5 officers, two sergeant detectives, a lieutenant, and 2 consulting officers. Every report is read every day. So seeing that we're so small, we're able to see if there's a repetition of an accused. Is there a suspect that we always see all the time? And if that's the case, when the report will be written out, the information will be transmitted to prosecution, and then prosecution will decide whether they'll be, on top of the fact that it's motivated by hate, if there's going to be a sentencing principle added to that, because there's it's a repeated offense by that same person.
Do you know if a lot of investigations about hate crime lead to arrests?
In our cases, a lot of our cases are resolved through arrest and are pushed on to prosecution because every dossier is sifted through with a fine-tooth comb. So if there's elements that lead to a suspect, well, then we'll make the follow-up with cameras, so on and so forth, to be able to eventually identify the suspect and accused.
Okay. And do you know if the SPVM visits schools to give these type of presentations? This presentation that we've had, somebody is asking if the SPVM also provides these presentations to schools.
Yes, we never say no to a presentation, especially in regards to the population. I know that Mich gives presentations to different communities. We have not on n'a pas tendu la main. We haven't reached out to schools yet, but eventually that will be one of our main goals, because we see that adolescents are being targeted as well. And no, but it's not a no, it's a definite yes.
Yes, and I'm sure that we will approach you to work with us to give some presentations in schools.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we will, I'm pretty sure. We have another question asking, is having a specific diverse group that brings to the table information about hate crimes is a possible idea that could help understand what each minority, etc., suffers? Researchers more than police officers, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So that is a question. If let's say these groups can help the SPVM, your unit, is there anything that can be done to help you?
We're always willing to sit down and to find a solution to be able to understand what the community is living. Like I said, if we don't have interaction with the citizens of Montreal or with the different communities, we don't know the realities in which you're living. So the more information that is transmitted to us, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through a report, it can be, can we have a sit down? Can we talk about what we're living and what we need to work on? That's always something that can be done. And Mark and myself will be the actual persons that will sit down with you and go over what needs fine-tuning.
Do you know the difference? Can you explain the difference between, and I think this goes a bit out of the presentation of today, but I will still ask it, but the difference between being intercepted and being arrested by a police officer?
I can most give an example. To be intercepted by a police officer, you're in your car and you cross the red light. The police officer will intercept you because the penal code, which is the Code de sécurité routière, has been infringed, or the I don't know the word in English for Code de sécurité routière, but the driving laws have been infringed. So the police officer will intercept you. To be arrested is that you have committed a criminal offense, and then the police officer will arrest you.
And if I can use a word instead of intercepter, interpeller. So when you're walking around, let's say you're walking in the street and a police officer comes to you and says, hello, how are you? So what is the difference between these kind of interpellations, this kind of communications with the police officer and an arrest?
There's different aspects in which police officers use now, but there's a whole team that is specialized in interpellations, interceptions, arrest, or temporary detention. And that team will go into detail in regards to what the difference is between the four categories. And it has become an intervention policy which the SPVM has adopted. I think there will be a presentation that will be done at another time, which the team will be able to go into specifics. In regards to an interpellation is police officer just saying hi, or looking for social interaction. Do they have information? Do we ask a question in regards, did you see an event happen? What did you see? That would be an example of an interpellation.
Yes, and for the person asking this question, I can assure you that we will make sure to have another presentation that will give details about these differences. So please keep following our page on Facebook or page, and so you can attend that workshop or that conference. So do you know if an allegation is treated differently by your unit if the alleged perpetrator is an organization or a collective?
Behind an organization, there's always a person. So in court, we tend to accuse a specific person. And I know, Farah, you'll be able to explain really. I think that's more a question for you than it is for me.
Well, I mean, the allegation, the question is not very specific on how it's treated differently in a courtroom or by the unit, but I believe that whoever the perpetrator is, there's a due investigation that will be done, and charges can be laid upon that perpetrator. So we have another question, well, two questions regarding the trainings of the police officers. So what type of training are police officers getting to investigate hate crime and hate incidents?
The investigations are, all investigations of hate crimes and hate incidents is directed towards our unit. And police officers right now are receiving the same formation that we gave today. So Mark and I are the ones that are transmitting the information to our fellow officers so that the same information is given to the officers. They know how to treat hate crimes and hate incidents, and that information is also given to the public. But is there a difference for them being treated? The report is still made the same way. Declarations are still written in the same way. But the only specification that is made is that it was motivated by hate towards either the ethnicity, the color of the person's skin, whether they were gay or lesbian, or whether they were had a specific religion. That is specified in the report, and then it is directly sent to us, and the police officers are made aware of it because it is identified in the report when the report is written.
And regarding the conduct of the investigation of when a hate crime is reported, will you investigate a hate incident, or when it's not a hate crime but it's an incident, will you investigate it or simply record it for analysis? And is there some feedback that is provided to the complainant?
In regards to the plaintiff in the dossier of a hate incident, all dossiers, whether it's a hate crime or hate incident, is treated by our unit. Hate incidents, what happens is if we're able to identify, they're not considered a suspect because they didn't commit an offense, but they are considered a cité. So they're cited in the report. And if we have the contact information of that cité, then Mark, myself, or the two other investigators will contact that person. And awareness is given to that person saying, listen, it's not a crime at the moment, but it's not far, you're on a limit. And if we can see that it's done by the same person repetitively, well, and to the same person or the same plaintiff or victim, then a harassment charge may be something that we're going to look at because they don't understand the message. But yes, our unit does contact the cité in a hate incident to create awareness, say, hey, we know what's going on. And in regards to the plaintiff or the witness, there are resources in which we can offer. There is social resources with the CLSC that we offer as well, so that they can talk about the event, so that it doesn't stay impregnated in their conscious or non-conscious.
Okay. And regarding social media, how does the unit deal with that type of hate incidents or hate crimes?
We do investigate hate crimes and hate incidents on social media as well, but a report has to be made. So you don't necessarily have to be a plaintiff or the victim of a hate crime on the web. You can denounce by just saying, hey, this is what I saw on the internet. The information, the screen capture is very important for us to have, and the information of the website. You always have a window at the top of where you're searching, and it gives you http www.facebook.com, and there's always that line of words that we don't know what they necessarily mean, but that's very important to us. So if you can give us a screen capture of that and a screen capture of what was said or any pictures, that helps as well with the investigation. But yes, we do investigate hate crimes and hate incidents on the web.
And how do you think we can best deal with organizations that promote hate?
Good question. Really good question.
Yeah.
Seeing that our unit is pretty brand new, we're open for any suggestions. We can also, really, we're open for any suggestions. I'll be honest, we're not there yet.
Yeah. We have another common question. So about the fact that it takes trust to have a victim denounce a perpetrator, and how is the SPVM, what is the SPVM doing to try to gain that trust from the victim's trust, and if the officers are culturally desensitized to the various ethnic backgrounds to better serve those victims?
It's a very touchy question. The only thing I could say is it's the connection between, like everyone in everyday life, the connection might not be there. So If you see that it's not working with a specific officer or his or her partner, we highly encourage to present yourself to the police station. And there's someone there that will take the event. And if ever that doesn't happen, then give us a call at our hate crimes unit and talk to us on the phone. We'll guide you and give you the guidelines on how to fill out the report, or even fill out a report with you.
Okay. And what should citizens do when they witness discrimination? Let's say they're walking in the street and they witness discrimination as a witness, but not as the victim. What should they do?
They can engage in conversation with the victim and ask them, as it was said in the presentation before, are you okay? Are you aware that this just happened? Sometimes the awareness is not there, or it's happened so many times that it's just another comment. But it's not just another comment. It's something that has to be denounced. And creating awareness towards the plaintiff in regards to witnesses that's part of our vigilance. That's part of prevention. So we encourage witnesses and plaintiffs to talk to one another, to say, hey, do you need a hand? Or do you realize what just happened?
I'm reviewing other comments and questions. And I see that your unit right now, there's a few police officers. In the next years, to your knowledge, will there be more police officers added to your unit?
At the moment, it's not under discussion. It's all in regards to the amount of dossiers in which we have to treat every year. And that's above my pay grade. So it has to be determined either by a supervisor or inspector chief to see whether or not the unit has to be made bigger.
Perfect. So we have here a bit more of a specific question, but who decides the jurisdiction of a hate crime? So Montreal, is it the police? Is it, who decides which unit of police will treat the complaint? So if it will be the SPVM, the Sûreté du Québec, the RCMP?
In regards to hate crimes for the city of Montreal, if the offense was committed on the territory or the island of Montreal, it will be SPVM. The only time where it becomes a little more complicated is when the suspect has committed a crime and, say, public incitement of hatred on the web. And we know that we trace back with ordinances or authorizations, which is another word for warrants, that the suspect is a resident of Saint-Hilaire. When then the police of Saint-Hilaire will investigate. We will transfer the information that we received in regards to our warrants and ordinances over to the Saint-Hilaire police, and they will accuse in their jurisdiction because the suspect lives there and the crime was committed from there.
Okay. And right now, do you know what are the delays to treat a complaint? Let's say if you're victim of a hate crime and you complain to the police and you don't get a call, let's say the next morning from the police officer. I believe it's normal because you must have a lot of reports to treat. Do you know right now what is the average of time that it takes to investigate a crime?
Between the investigation itself can take a little while, but for myself to treat hate incidents or my fellow investigating officers, usually the delay is within 3 to 10 days, because all the information is transmitted through a database, and that database is transferred over to our unit. So It usually takes 2 to about 10 days to receive a phone call from either myself, consulting officer, or an investigating officer. The delay of the investigation, well, then it's often undetermined.
But we understand that you work very hard to treat all complaints and for yes. So I believe if there's any other questions, I invite the participants to ask them now. And again, so it's very clear when, let's say, you witness a crime or you're a victim, you can either report it online, or you can go to the police station directly, or you can call the phone number that you gave us during your presentation. Is that right?
That's right. Our telephone number at Hate Crimes is when your life is secure. And you're not quite sure, was it a hate crime or was it not a hate crime? Should I denounce? Should I not denounce? Then you can give us a call. Also, our phone number is for organizations in which would enjoy having the presentation done within a school or within a community. You call us and we can have it organized. We'll organize an intervention or a vigilance conference for that. If you're in a situation where a suspect is present and there's an altercation happening, then it's 911, whether it's yourself as a plaintiff that calls or the witness. If your life is no longer in danger and the suspect is no longer there, you can call 911, especially if you need help and an ambulance is needed. Then we don't want you to go somewhere else. We want you to call 911 where you are, so we are able to give you the medical assistance that you do need. And if there's no suspect, you're not hurt, then you can go to a neighborhood police station and denounce the event to a police officer. But you have to make sure that your life is secure, you're not in danger, and the suspect is no longer around.
Perfect. So thank you very much for the presentation today. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Merci à tous d'avoir participé et merci beaucoup, Agente Mailloux, pour la présentation. So if you have any other questions, you can always write to us at the BCRC's Facebook page. You can also consult our website page to contact us. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.